objective of this video is to be able to identify and create bar graphs from a table of data and to be able to distinguish between a bar graph and a histogram. This here is a bar graph. You'll notice that it has a label for the x and the y axis. The horizontal is the x, the vertical is the y. You'll notice that there are bars for each of the values in the x here. And the height of these bars gives you information. In January here, according to the months picked, the number of flowers picked was only 10 flowers. 10 flowers picked in January. This one tells me that if I go along here, it's number 30, so 30 flowers were picked in the month of February. Now, bar graphs could have the bars separated like this. They could be connected to each other, so they look a little bit more like that, where they're one right next to each other. That's more likely to be in a histogram, but it could be in either one where they're connected like that. They'll generally have something where they'll put a pattern inside of one bar graph and a different pattern inside of another, different one inside of another, to help distinguish between the different bars. It's still a bar graph. And there should be a title at the top. Well, let's think of a good title for this one. We're talking about flowers picked in a month. So, flowers picked each month. Many times the title will have something to do with the x and y axis. Moving on to a histogram here. Now, I just want to be able to distinguish between a histogram and a bar graph in this video. I'm not going to go into all the details on how to do a histogram or what makes a histogram a histogram. The difference between a histogram and a bar graph is that a histogram has intervals. Remember on the last graph we had January, February, March, April, May. Here we've got 0 to 10. 11 to 12, 21 to 30, 31 to 40. Each one of these represents a range of data. It's not one single thing, it is a range of values. So this could be, the pairs of shoes currently owned by a 21-year-old, a 28-year-old, and a 27-year-old. We don't know. It's somewhere in that. Anybody who has an age within that range, that's where it's going to fall. So the main difference, again, the main difference between a bar graph and a histogram is that a histogram has intervals on its x-axis. Okay, we're going to create a bar graph from a table of data. To be able to do that, you first have to have the table of data and a graph to work with. In this case, I'm looking, well, first, how do I know which one's which? Which one's x, which one's y? Well, which comes first alphabetically, x or y? X does. So the first column is going to be our x values. So we know that January, February, March, April, those are our x values. I can put little marks here, abbreviate Jan for January, FEB for February, MAR for March, APR for April. Now the Y, I have values ranging from 30 up to 80. The minimum was 30, the maximum's 80. And I generally want to start from 0. Well, they go up by, they have tens of values here, so I think a good interval for me to work with. But Mr. Funk, you said only histograms had intervals. There are intervals in the y-axis on both, but the x-axis will only have intervals, individual intervals within each bar graph on the histogram. All right. So we count up. We're going to do intervals of 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Notice how I adjust mine to make it just a little bit taller to be able to make the 80. Notice I tried to keep each of these spaces here equal. That's very important when doing any kind of graph work. All right, for January, we have 50. So we're going to draw a bar at the level of 50 for January. Line up here at 50, bar going down for 50 for January. February, we went all the way up to 70. So we go here to 70 and draw the bar for February there like that. Hopefully we draw a little bit straighter. Mr. Funk's working with a whiteboard on an unsteady surface as opposed to you working with pencil and paper. All right, now 80 for March, that means it goes all the way to the top there for March. And then for April, we go back all the way back down to 30 here for April. I've forgotten a few things. These are months, so I should put months here. That's a label for the x-axis. The y-axis, number of students. Now I could write it down like that, or I could write it across. It just takes up a little more space, but I try to do that width-wise there. And we need a title for this. Students who care about their grade. According to this, it looks like students seem to care about their grade more and more and more and more until they get to March, and then in April they don't care anymore. Man, that's because FCATs are over with. Not the way it should be. Title for the x-axis, title for the y-axis, bars for each x value, height of the height on the y tells you the value for each of the objects in the x value there. That's how we create a bar graph. Now, the best way to learn math is to do math. So I'd like you to pause the video and create a graph from this table. When you come back, we'll go over actually creating the table, or the graph from the table. Welcome back. Now, your table should look something like this. Your graph should look something like this, where you have January, February, March, April, May. And the lowest one is 10, the highest one is 36. I'm going to count up by 5. So this would be 0, let's do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Now I'm going to draw a bar for January that's going to go up to 10. There's my bar for January, it goes up to 10. Maybe this time I'll put a little cross-hatching in here so we know that that's separate from February. February, we go up to 17. Well, now, I only have a marking for 15. 17 should be a little less than halfway between the 15 and 20. So, right about there. March has 15. We do have a marker for 15, so we should make sure it lines up with that one. Now, what are these circles? Again, it's just a pattern I'm putting on there to distinguish it from the others. May not be the best pattern, but it's a pattern nonetheless. April, 36. So we go all the way up to 35 and just a little bit past it. So here's 35. There's April. I want to go a little bit past it, so I'll go something like that. And there's April. Now for May, it goes up to 29, which is a little bit less than 30. So we run our finger across the 30, we go a little bit less than 30, draw our line there, draw the bar down, and put a pattern on that one. So now we have our bar graph for this. Now, I also have to put the titles. That's right, this is months, and this is total inches of rain. Maybe the title will be monthly rainfall in Palm Bay. And I list the monthly rainfall, total monthly rainfall in each of those months. Hopefully your graph looks similar to this, and hopefully you guys have done well with this. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or see me before or after school. Love to talk to you about it. Thank you.